Good morning, Jets Nation. It is New York Jets Anonymous reporting. So this is gonna be my week 6 analysis and kind of what just keep you guys up on what's going on. I'm doing this before my 9 a.m. lecture, so it may not be very long, but it's something. So before I even get into the game, I want to just touch up on the Steve McClendon trade. We ended up getting a 2022 sixth rounder, and then obviously we traded away Steve McClendon along with a 2023 seventh rounder. Steve was just an absolute leader. He was always a great guy on and off the field, always being positive. So I'm actually happy for him that he gets to go to a team that's gonna, treat him right. And I'm happy for him. At least he has a shot to succeed in this league. He's always been a really solid guy. He's 34, but he's always played very well. So good for him. He's been humble. He's a great guy overall. So I think we're all happy for him. Rumors say that he was talking with Joe Douglas and he said, listen, trade me out of here, or something along those lines of that. I'm not really sure. My guess is a lot of these players are going up to Joe Douglas and they're saying, all right, get me out of here. And Joe Douglas is saying, okay, give me a few days, let me see what I could do. He knows that players want out, and so he's trying his best to at least get something for them, and I think they understand that. My guess as to who's up next is probably going to be Jamison Crowder, as much as we don't want to hear that. I would love to sign Jamison Crowder to a long-term deal. I don't think it's going to happen. I've once again heard rumors that Joe Douglas is looking to clean house with everyone besides Mekhi Becton. That includes everyone. There might be Bless Austin. That's probably the only other person I could think of right now. But I know he's going to be trying to trade, for sure, Jamison Crowder and Brian Poole. Poole had a pretty solid game yesterday. So I think I've heard that the 49ers are taking a good look at him, and I think they're trying to negotiate something. Don't take my word for it. That's, again, just rumors I've heard. I've seen it on multiple Niners fan pages that they are very interested in Brian Poole. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a trade soon within these next, 1.5 weeks. I would not be surprised if we see a lot of trades before that deadline. Another name that we probably are going to hear is Sam Darnold. Would not surprise me. I do not like Joe Flacco playing, so we're probably going to give, I don't even remember his name, Mike White a shot, and maybe James Morgan. We're going to give one of them a shot, because Joe Flacco is not the former MVP. He just didn't look good yesterday, so I'll get on about that in a little bit. Regarding Joe Douglas and Adam Gase, I know a lot of people want to blame Joe Douglas for this. Why hasn't he fired Adam Gase yet? Why hasn't he moved Greg Williams to be an interim head coach? And you guys got to realize that Joe Douglas did not sign Adam Gase. It was Maccagnan. And so he doesn't have the power to fire him. Only the owners could fire him. And we know that owners are just too incompetent to even think about that. They don't want to admit they're wrong with the signing, and they're not going to release them. And some of you guys will rejoice in happiness because it's one game we're closer to Trevor Lawrence. And if you're like me, we're left here just wondering, what the hell's going on? Why can we not, just do something? I don't understand it. I don't think any of us want to go 0-16, but as I said in my last podcast, that's a definite, possibility. We just got shut out by the Dolphins. I'll get into this now. Let's go ahead and get into this analysis. We lost to the Dolphins 24-0. I had actually a pretty solid website to view the game. it was pretty ugly. I have to say that the offense was by far the worst part. I'll give this to Adam Gase's credit that he actually took a lot more deep shots, but Joe Flacco is just not a good quarterback. I would prefer to see more crossing routes, slants, and maybe just these little passes that could go, I don't know, 10 yards, give Jamison Crowder a chance to shine. I mean, he had one in the third quarter, I think. He just did this little, like, pass 5 yards to Braxton Berrios, and he went, like, 13 yards. I mean, just stuff like that. Don't make it too complicated. Just don't run it. Frank Gore actually looked a lot better this game. He had a few nice runs. I still don't understand why we're not giving it more to Perrine. He really didn't look that great yesterday, but at the same time, I feel like he's not getting much of a chance. I think he wants to be there. I think he wants to go play, but I think that he can't find anything. He's looking. He is a speedster. So once he hits that hole, if he finds a spot, you know he's going to be gone, or he's at least going to get a 10-yard gain. I mean, we all know he could be a really good dual threat, but I feel like he's not really getting the chance. And even when he does, he's honestly a little bit of a disappointment at the moment. I don't want to jinx it. We'll see what he does in the future upcoming games, but right now he isn't playing very good. And then there's this other guy that went in. His name is Ty Johnson. He was formerly from the Lions. He got 2 carries, and one of them went for 20 yards or something like that. I mean, he's not a bad player. I don't understand why we didn't give him more carries. He only had 2 carries last game, if I remember correctly, so I wonder why not. What's the worst that could happen? I mean, you already got shut out, so, why not try out these other players? At least give them a shot to play. I'll go back to Joe Flacco now. So, let's be honest here. When we signed Joe Flacco, we thought to ourselves, okay, cool, this is a solid backup in case, Sam Darnold got hurt. Because that's not going to happen, right? I mean, obviously he did, which sucks. He's probably going to be back next game. He may be back the next game, or he's going to be back week 8. I'm not really sure yet. But Joe Flacco is not the MVP we saw with the Ravens. He looked just unsteady. He was getting rid of the ball too late. He's a veteran. He should be used to pressure. I mean, that's just a matter of fact. If this were a rookie, I would say, okay, maybe he's not used to the pressure yet. But Joe Flacco is a complete veteran. And so the fact that he holds the ball so long, I understand. You're only getting about 4 seconds in the pocket, but your release has to be between 2.5 and 3 seconds, if even. And he just looks so lost out there. And not to mention that he has to be the most immobile quarterback I've ever seen. That is the difference between him and Sam Darnold. I think it was the 4th quarter, when we had that last drive at 3 minutes, and it was 3rd and goal, and he called a pass, which, you know what, sure, whatever, I get it. And the offensive line did a pretty good job. But then Joe Flacco, there was a hole about 7 feet wide. He could have ran in for the touchdown, but he tried to force the ball, and it went sailing. I understand it, but he has to realize this is what you have to do if you want to succeed. And the fact that he's not willing to run to gain those extra yards shows that he really isn't in it anymore. And it's frustrating because us Jets fans realize you're supposed to go for every yard, and he just doesn't look like he wants to do that. He's probably asking himself, why am I still starting? What am I doing here? And I don't know if it's just me. It may be just me. I'm sure I'm not alone. But he just doesn't look interested in the game. He was not on target with his balls. I mean, there's the first quarter where very first play he just took a bomb shot, completely overthrew his target. I think it was Richard Perriman, And granted, I think Brashard Perriman should have come around and caught that ball. That's what a number one receiver is supposed to do. And then I think the same drive he took another shot and it was completely underthrown. It was good coverage to the Dolphins, credit. But Brashard Perriman has to come around and be like, okay, I have to catch that ball. It's not just that. It's Joe Flacco has to realize I need to pass the ball to where my receiver could get it. I know it sounds so dumb when I say it, but he just wasn't on target the entire game. He was overthrowing absolutely everyone, and it was really tough to see because Adam Gase finally opened up that playbook, and Joe Flacco just couldn't do it. It was absolutely just infuriating because it's like, okay, you're finally getting your chance to do something. Why can you not, do it? Like, why are you unable to complete a pass? I mean, he was like 9 for 22 or something along those lines. It was really bad. I mean, that pick was ugly. It was really ugly. I can't say that it was a good game for the offense. I mean, Jamison Crowder had a decent game. He had over, 8 receptions. Good for him. Let's see. Brashard Perriman had a pretty decent, comeback. He caught a few balls. I don't know the exact stats at the moment, but I know he definitely caught a few nice passes. So I mean, he looked pretty good. And just an update on him. He did go out in the second quarter with an ankle injury. I think he may have tweaked that ankle again, but he came back in and played basically fine. So that's good on him. Ryan Griffin played okay. He caught maybe 2 passes. I don't understand why we don't do any more tight end, stuff. I don't get it. There is a reason he's there. There's a reason you're paying him. He played pretty well last season, so why don't you, try to get in the ball more? I noticed Chris Herndon got absolutely no receptions, or maybe 1. It's obvious that he is not the same as he was his rookie year. It's time to move on from him. It's just a matter of the fact. He has all the potential in the world, but it doesn't look like he wants it at all. So if he doesn't want it, then you might as well just say, okay, I'll go to someone else. I mean, that's it. The offensive line was pretty bad yesterday. I don't know how many sacks they let up. It was definitely more than 2. That 28-yard sack, that was on Joe Flacco, but still the offensive line has to be there and give him more support. The Dolphins' defensive line got way too many pressures on Joe Flacco. They definitely got way too many times where the pocket broke down and Joe Flacco had to do something like get rid of the ball just to avoid getting a sack or a tackle for loss. And it was really tough to see as Joe Flacco probably only had an average of 3 seconds per snap. That's how it is at this point. He should expect it. He needs to find a way to get rid of that ball faster. Because when the pocket is still sturdy, like even when it is a good pocket and there's not a lot of pressure, Joe Flacco still could not complete those passes. And that's absolutely irritating because, yes, we know the offensive line is not doing very well. But you have to be able, as a veteran, to go in there and say, okay, let's figure out a way to solve this. Let's do that. And he's just not doing it. The offensive line's not doing it. The receivers are not having good routes. They're not getting open. It was overall just a train wreck for the offense. And Sam Ficken missed his first field goal of the season. I think it was a 55-yarder, so it's not really on him, that one. He was wide left. I mean, that's a tough one for any kicker, so that happened. He didn't have any other shots to kick a field goal or even extra point, so there it was for that one. Then let's take a look at the defense. So the defense in the first half was about as bad as the offense. They could not get anything going. They couldn't stop the Dolphins. Fitzpatrick looked pretty good. It just looked overall like a pretty good Dolphins offense. And I have to give credit to them to where I say they did look pretty good. And their offense looked to be running very smoothly. You have to give credit where credit is due. Their offensive line stood up pretty well. Greg Williams tried to bring pressure and they just held up very well, unlike the Jets. So I have to give credit to them. One thing I want to touch up on is Bless Austin actually played a very good game. I think he was on Devontae Parker. It was either him or Lamar Jackson. And Devontae Parker did not have a great game. He wasn't really standing out at all. So I think they did a very good job locking down on him. The Titans, though, they definitely got too much action. That one was tough because there were those 2 touchdowns where they were just wide open, and you know it was a blown coverage. And Fitzpatrick, a high school quarterback, could have completed that pass to the tight end. He was that wide. Those 2 tight ends had probably 15 feet between the next nearest defender. So the defense definitely had too much blown coverage. That was very tough. But it seems that whatever Greg Williams said to them in the half worked, because they had a really good second half. And I know a lot of you guys are going to be like, they still gave up 24 points. But if you saw that second half, it was probably 100 times better than the first half. You know, they definitely had better coverage. They were stopping the run a little better, though they're still giving up way too many yards on the run. They looked like they were bringing more pressure. I mean, Fitzpatrick started to look a little bit frantic because they were getting that good of pressure. And then obviously Marcus May, had the butt interception, which good for him. It comes around full circle. Like, good for him. Brian Poole had an interception. That might have been the first half, but honestly, the defense really didn't play that bad. They also had a bunch of bad passes, a bunch of tip balls. Good for them. They played pretty well in that second half, so I can't really complain. And I think it shows something here where Adam Gase's crew, the offense, in the second half, they could have come out and said, okay, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to figure out a way to solve this. And they didn't. Whereas Greg Williams' defense had this prep talk, and they said, okay, come on, wake up. It's time to smell the roses and say, let's wake up, let's go. And they did. They played so much better in that second half. And I think it shows there's really 2 sides to this team. It is the offense is with Adam Gase, and the defense is with Greg Williams. And I'm not saying Greg Williams has done any better this season. Honestly, it is not the same defense as last year. They don't have Jamal Adams, and honestly, he is such a big playmaker. But I think we see a little bit from his perspective now that he needed to get out. And of course, he didn't do that in the most ethical way. He wasn't, sitting there and being very calm and whatnot. But for someone like Steve McClendon, he was very respectful. I think he went out there, I think he said, Joe, listen, I love this team, but you have to trade me. It just isn't here. I just don't enjoy it here anymore. And I think a lot more players are going to be doing that. I think that a lot more players are asking for that. And I feel like it's really going to hurt, because this is slowly but surely going to break down the defense to the point where we are already depleted, but it's going to just be skin and bones at this point. The next thing I want to touch up on is actually what the commentator said. I don't even remember who it was. I didn't pay attention. I kind of just watched the game. But there are a few things that really stood out to me. Adam Gase at halftime just absolutely got slaughtered. They drug his name through the mud. I mean, he just got shitted on. Everyone realizes that Adam Gase shouldn't be here besides the owners. And if they do, then we know the reason is that they just want to tank. They want Trevor Lawrence. They do not care who's at. They don't care if Adam Gase, if the fans don't want him there. They're going to keep him here so they could tank. And I know some of you guys are like, yeah, that makes sense. But for the rest of us, it's like, we probably would still go 0-16 without him. Let's lose with a little more dignity. Because none of these games have been competitive. I can argue for the Broncos game, which they beat the Patriots. Good job, Broncos. Go you. But the rest of these games, they didn't even look like they were in it at all. Sometimes the defense would be in it. Sometimes they would be there and they would try to compete. But the offense in this entire season has not been there at all. one thing the commentator said, I think it was in the second half, was that this looks like a bunch of dead men walking, or something close to that. And do you know how hard it is to hear that? They basically said these Jets have given up. They do not care anymore. They have no life. And as a football fan alone, it has to be the most difficult thing to hear, because you don't want to admit that your team has given up in week 6. This is week 6. We aren't even halfway through the season, and we've already put up the white flag and said, all right, once, how many more days till we draft Trevor Lawrence? I mean, you don't want to hear that. And it's just demoralizing, because they could say, Adam Gase could say, we don't listen to that stuff in the locker room. We don't pay attention to the outside media. But in reality, I am sure that the players are all affected by this. This has to be the saddest team I've seen in a long time. I could argue that the 2016 Browns were a better team than us. The 2010 Lions. I mean, it is this might be the worst team I've ever seen. I wouldn't be surprised that if the Giants and the Falcons got another win, and that if the Texans got another win, that we would actually try. Like, if we had that number 1 pick locked up, I wouldn't be surprised if we just go ahead and actually try and win for once. We just want to win a game. Just one game. I don't want to go 0-16. You guys don't want to go 0-16 until we've locked up that spot. And so my guess is that we might actually beat the Bills. Or no, we're not playing the Bills. But whoever our last game is, we probably are going to try to win that time. Because we don't even look like we're trying at the moment. It's just, we're not trying at all. The defense is, the offense isn't. That's how it is. And as I said yesterday, it looks like some of the offense is trying. I know Jamison Crowder's trying. Frank Gore. Brashard Perriman looked like he was at least, starting to get there. But none of them really were just... We know Joe Flacco wasn't doing very well. We know Ryan Griffin, as much as good as he is, he wasn't doing much. LaMichael Pirine, he may have been trying. I couldn't really tell. As Adam Gase said, he's like, I'm going to give more carries to LaMichael Pirine. He really didn't. Give the guy a chance to really start. Make him the number 1 back over Frank Gore. Let Frank Gore be the mentor to your young running back. Frank Gore is a veteran, and you could use him, but you could use him in more than one way. You can use him not just as a player, but as a mentor to these young guys. Give them a chance to see, to listen to him and say, this is what happens, this is how we do this, you might want to consider this. He has been in this game for so long. He is 37 years old. So give him a chance to be a teacher to these young running backs. He could contribute to this team rather than just playing. That's one of the most frustrating things is, yes, he's a decent back, or he was at least. But he's past his prime. And we all love Frank Gore. He's probably one of the most respected players in this entire league. Everyone loves him. I mean, the Dolphins, even when they, hit him, they kind of help bring him up and, pat him on the shoulder, stuff like that. Everyone loves Frank Gore. He's respected. He's a great guy. And he is certainly going to the Hall of Fame. But he isn't the same player as he was when he was 25. He's 37. And it's time to realize that he shouldn't be getting all these carries. Adam Gase has to say, okay, I have to give this to my young guys. Even if we don't win a game, we have to get them experience. We have to help them out here. And it's very selfish of him to not think about these rookies. Because if they do stay, then they're not getting any carries, they're not getting any experience out there on the field. And I think it's honestly really selfish of them. I want to regard one thing about the playbook. I feel like that he definitely opened it up yesterday. He took a lot more deep shots. But I really didn't like the play call. I think it was on the 3rd and 1. I really didn't like the play call. I think it was just a run up the middle, but they were trying to do something where they could have just gone for a quarterback sneak on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1. And I don't get it. I just don't get it. If you are 3rd and inches, just go for the quarterback sneak. You'll get there eventually. And then we're not even going to mention a 3rd down situation. The commentators was, saying it the entire game. That there is only the first 3rd down conversion was late in the 3rd quarter, maybe the start of the 4th quarter. That's ridiculous on both teams. That's just horrible. So we have to improve. We have to get more 1st down conversions. And I know that might seem like a very simple thing to say, might seem like a dumb thing to say, like, yeah, no shit. But when we get in these 3rd and short situations, not saying that we do a lot of times, we have to figure out a way to convert. And it could be just a little pass to Jamison Crowder as he does a slant route. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. But if I see another screen pass, I might actually, die. Because anyone could read Adam Gase's playbook. A freaking JV high school team would easily recognize, okay, they're going to do this is what they're doing. And they could diagnose that and they can make plays. And as, someone who just loves football, it's gotta be the toughest thing to watch that this offense is just that bad. I'm not really sure what else to say about it. This offense just isn't clicking. I mean, last year we could say definitely in the second half of the season that things were just rolling. The defense was playing well, the offense was playing at least okay. But this year we can't say that. And it's depressing to think about because we probably are going 0-16. No fan wants to hear that. Absolutely no fan. I don't see us getting a win. I don't. I thought, honestly, the Dolphins game might be our one chance to get a win. Perhaps the Chargers game. But when I look at, I think it's Kansas City next week, there is no way in hell we're going to even come close. We got shut out by the Dolphins, okay? So imagine how bad we're going to do against the Chiefs. This defense won't be able to stop Patrick Mahomes and the rest of the Chiefs. I don't know how we're not going to stop them from getting over 50 points. It seems more realistic at this point. So, I watched Georgia Tech lose 73-7 to Clemson. And what I have to say is, the same thing is going to happen with us in Kansas City. It would not surprise me if they score at least 50. And I know that's a very harsh take on it. That's a very cold take. But I don't... We're either going to get shut out 42-0 or we're going to lose 60-something 7 or 10. It's not going to be close. It's going to be a really ugly game on both sides of the ball. This Chiefs team is winning the Super Bowl, or they're at least going to be in the Super Bowl. And as I said in my last podcast, I hope Le'Veon Bell has a great season with them. I really do. He is such a good guy. He's a great player. And so I really hope for the sake of him and the Chiefs that he is able to shine there, where Eric Bieniemy can use him and say, here you go, let's work on this, let's do this. Patrick Mahomes has your back, we'll have good blockers. I mean, good for Le'Veon Bell, good for the Chiefs. I really hope they go out there, and I really hope they win that Super Bowl and get another ring. I want Le'Veon Bell to go out there and get a ring, So I think I'm going to wrap this up for today. I hope you guys have a good one. Remember to stay safe and stay healthy. And until next time, Jets fans, remember to jet up.